Rakdos has returned to the Tainted Grail. This is going to be Apostate number 2, just after we have beaten the first boss. Very first priority here, we're going to spend our money trying to... you can see here we're literally one shred of cards away from getting that upgrade. First thing we want to do is take this removal. We're going to pitch the arrow bag. We are going to not need those. We do plan on taking the quiver talent for level 21, but we just won't need that many quivers. Grab the very cheap passive here. That's going to allow us to gain some extra barrier through our maneuvers. Still not taking the quest card. Looks like the rest of our funds will just go to blacksmith endeavors. Typically, after you have this much money, you just kind of buy the blacksmith out of all of his runestones. He does have a polished gur, which we will try to utilize this run. Yeah, there we go. That's going to give us a little bit more damage based on how many weapon slots we have unlocked and slotted in. Not a huge upgrade over something like the Ethel rune. Whenever you get the Ethel rune upgraded pretty far, it can also serve kind of the same purpose. It might even be better in the long run to use an upgraded Ethel rune for what we're doing here. So definitely don't think that the performance is contingent on these runestones. I would say Year is one of the only runestones that's so powerful that really it's hard to do what certain builds do without that runestone. Yeah, for some reason, taking us a moment to realize that we should just buy everything. For some reason, wanting to conserve the money a bit. Do we try to combine here to get anything special? I don't think so. Kind of missing one of each of the common runestones, and we know we're going to get plenty in the next area, so I think we just move forward. Plenty of candles, so we might pick one more up. Just for ultra safety, you know. Yep, I knew it. I could feel the ultra safety. The need for it. For 50, why not have ultra safety? Or maybe I just upgrade my initial candles. Yeah, I think that's what I do. Yeah. Probably better to have saved those. But it's okay. Double, triple, quadruple checking, making sure there's nothing else. We took a little bit of damage in the first area. We actually did have enough weird stone to finally get the massive health potion. We've been playing this game quite a bit. This one's been very fun for me. And I really appreciate you guys watching and following along, seeing us break each of these classes to pieces. And I promise, if the response is good, we're going to break every single one of these classes. First fight in the area number 2. A pretty easy one. Unfortunately, the Tainted Force we got was not very good in this particular instance. 2 of the 3 enemies are totally immune to stun. Thankfully, we do manage to draw our glimpse of possibility. That always leads to a lot of damage in the first turn. Something I didn't exactly go over in the first video is how and when to play your side maneuvers like feints. Typically, feint itself, you want to use any cards that are on the feint side before you use unbreakable feints. This is because the feint card gives you armor. The other side, unbreakable feints, only gives you barrier equal to a percentage of your armor. So as long as your armor is not maxed at 75, it's always beneficial to use feints before unbreakable feints. You end up getting quite a bit more barrier out of it if you order them that way. Outside of that, when you have certain talents that allow you to reduce the cost of your cards, like I have when my cards are flipping, you see here every time my cards flip to their original face, one of my cards in my hand will get discounted. When you have abilities like this, you want to be very careful when you are using cards like Overwhelming Insight. If you have maneuvers in your hand that have been reduced to 0 cost through effects like your passives, you want to use those before you cast cards like this Overwhelming Insight that you see sitting in my hand for 3. This is because the 2 cost reductions do not overlap. So if the card was already free and 0 energy, you don't get any additional benefit by making it cost less, essentially, by casting the Overwhelming Insight. Our Arrow of Destiny, Shot of Destiny, is a one-shot kill here. We decide to put its damage in towards the Grub, since the Grub is so heavily armored. And a note for that particular enemy, when you're in fights with multiple of them in particular, try killing them first. If the spawns exceed the amount of space on the battlefield, then it ends up saving you having to kill a lot of the little grubs in the end. Each time you kill a big one, it splits into 2 smaller ones. So if there's maximum enemies on the battlefield, and you kill a large one of these worms, it can't split into 2, it can only split into 1. This will save you, it can end up saving you 2, 4, maybe even 6 of these smaller little grubs in the end. So keep that in mind when you're fighting these guys. It makes it a little bit easier when you can pull it off. Playing my cards that are 0 cost there before playing my Overwhelming Insight. Now they're 0 cost again, and I can play them again for free. If I hadn't played them for their 0 cost before casting that Overwhelming Insight, after casting them for their 0 energy, they would return back to 1 energy. I wouldn't get the double cast, if that makes sense. So it pays to pay attention. Constantly scan over your hand after you flip each card. Make sure there isn't a card that was reduced to 0 that would be a little bit better to play. There we go, and now there are 3 left. Still casting spells, still stacking up my damage even though the fight is over. I'm sure that each of my attacks in my hand is more than enough damage to kill, but this is just going to show truly how excessive and synergistic all of these passives end up being. I can just sit and play. I could have sat there and played maneuvers, you know, till the sun went down, pretty much, as long as they kept reducing the cost of the other important maneuver that I needed to play. And then every so often, the Overwhelming Insight is going to get reduced in cost. Starting off here, unfortunately, the Overwhelming Insight is already flipped. It started off in its flipped form. Like I said, I really do like it to be in its Glimpse of Possibility form at the start of fights. But see here, we just spend all of our energy to play it right away. Oh yeah, we also had Stunning Idea instead of Idea, so our cards were really flipped in the wrong direction there, leading us to a pretty bad turn one. We're essentially just going to have to not even use our ultimate ability and just start throwing out shots and arrows. Not great. So even pretty suboptimal. You can see here, we still have plenty of damage. And I do believe with all the cards we played before this, few as they were, Shot of Destiny just hits. That card just hurts. Is it enough? Doesn't look like it. I think I have to play one more card to guarantee it. I think we throw out the arrow bag just for a one more little boost in damage. Yep, and we get a shot. That seals it. There we go. So we still kill on turn one, despite our deck being very, very screwed up. And this wasn't even one of the opening fights. This was a fight a little bit deeper in. Surveying our options here. Blind Fury is a pretty good damage card for this class. Don't get me wrong. But compared to Shot of Destiny, you can't even compare them to each other. Blind Fury is going to do quite a bit of damage. Shot of Destiny is going to do unlimited damage. When you play Shot of Destiny, any monster that you play it against will die if their life bar is not infinite. I'm not even exaggerating. So yeah, we really don't need extra damage cards like that. Looking at these maneuvers that deal damage, thinking one day, someday, maybe we can find a way to get them to work because we know how good they are with our final masteries. And then we look at this feints. We believe taking this feints would fully secure our defense, but we can make 400, 500 barrier a turn. We're already doing that. Not really a need for any more defense. And then let's see here. We could take Trick, getting 1 energy, but I think Showtime's a little bit better. If you played 3 maneuvers in 1 turn, draw 3 additional cards next turn. This ensures that we don't run out of steam after the first turn. Our Cracked Calc is making sure that we draw a lot on turn 1, kind of ensuring our turn 1's pretty strong, but every turn after that, drawing 5 cards, you know, we really rely on extra card draw. So that's going to help us a ton.
Okay.
Ooh, we get the Mysterious Witch, and we actually just end up having enough life, 1 life away from being able to hit the I Need to Forget. So, of course, if you have the option to take this, take this. I Need to Forget is super strong. It makes your deck perfectly engineered to do whatever you want it to do. I think any deck with 5 card removal can function pretty well. We know we're going to get rid of the arrow bag. We're just kind of looking around here. We understand that we're going to be able to draw our entire deck into our hands, so there's really no point to have the arrow bag. Spiritual Flurry is going to be good after we've played all of our cards. Thinking about removing a feint, maybe. I play around with the idea of removing Acid Shot, but decide heavily against it. And now that we can reduce the cost of cards in our hand randomly, Acid Shot can be 0. So that little issue we had with it is gone. We're like, wow, 5 cards, huh? I think we remove 3 here. So we use most of it. We try to keep our deck a little balanced. I think we remove a shot and a feint. We remove a little bit of damage and a little bit of defense, just to keep it thinner and a little bit quicker. I think this also gives us the ability to add 1 or 2 cards to our deck without overfilling it and without having it be too inconsistent. Because we're still missing the damage we need. We're still missing a lot of power. Still a hard decision to come to even in hindsight, but pretty sure this is what we go with. Brain burning, just smoking, flames, sparks. Trying to see into the future, trying to imagine every future fight. Okay, maybe it's not that dramatic. Yep. And it is worth it to spend extra time on these decisions, by the way. I am kind of joking and making fun of my past self for taking so long here, but truly, don't speed through these decisions. One wrong removal, you might end up screwing your deck up. It is more than worth it to think it through and then overthink it through. We immediately drink a potion after sacrificing truly almost all of our life. And we get a second polished Gur, which is really good. Now we're just going to try for a third one. Hopefully get it upgraded. Really good sign. So right now we're trying to see if we can fit this cracked lore into one of our weapon slots. We do need the lifesteal for just a little bit of extra life without having to use a potion here. And we decided to sacrifice the cracked calc just for the time being. It does kind of hurt. It's going to make our turn one a lot less consistent, a lot less powerful, but I figure we really only need like one fight if we're paying attention. Hit the enemy super, super hard with an attack and heal back to full. So that's kind of the game plan. We are picking what fight to take here. We see the Tainted Altar and decide to take that fight, hoping to get free passive skill, maybe a rune stone, some kind of upgrade off of this one. The ethereal minions over there, always an issue, always kind of a problem enemy. We'll see how much damage we can crank out here. Luckily, we draw the Glimpse of Possibility in the opening hand. As you know by now, those hands are always a lot stronger. We can always do a lot more. And as long as we can get our ultimate in the first turn, we can pretty much double our effectiveness here. And you're watching our cards take turns reducing each other's cost to 0. Allowing me to play way more cards than I normally would be able to, achieving, 860 damage, 880 damage percent in the first cycle. Switching back from Stunning Idea to Idea so that we can reduce our cards' costs once again. But before we do that, as I stated earlier, we're playing every single other card that's 0. Once all of our maneuvers that are 0 are played, then we can Overwhelming Insight to reduce them to 0 again. As you can see, we have enough barrier to block any attack that any enemy in the game would ever throw at us on this difficulty level, or I imagine any difficulty level. Really don't see how any amount of enemies deals over 1,000 incoming damage. Maybe if our armor was incredibly reduced, then maybe I could see it. We realize that our damage is enough. Really important here to reduce all of the barrier on these minions before passing turn. We had so much overkill here. Still turn 1. We start throwing out these weak shots. And here's where we learn something incredibly valuable, something we didn't know before. See, our draw pile has 4 cards in it. This illuminates a pathway towards damage that I had not yet considered. Watch our next draw. Well, that was not what I thought was going to happen. I guess we don't learn it yet. The thing that we end up learning is that if we generate those arrows from quivers and our hand is full, then the arrows that we generate go back in our deck, and it allows us to draw them. But that'll be a secret. Forget that you heard that, and we will learn that together organically when I first stumble upon it, maybe here in a couple fights. Another choice, Ambition's a pretty good card, but I have no need for it because it's a very small damage increase, a very small defensive boost, and I can just get way more value out of other things. I'm kind of thinking of Arrows of the Past here. I'm thinking this card exists for a reason. I can replay a Arrow of Destiny or Shot of Destiny if I get lucky, maybe. I don't exactly know how it works. And since this was my second run trying to really learn the Apostate, my third run ever as the Apostate, I'm thinking, you know what? It's still in the area of experimentation. Arrows of the Past could be good. Let me take it. I plan on doing quivers this run. I've already removed my other quivers. Let's do it. I'm so hesitant on it, though, because I'm like, this could be garbage. This could be absolute trash. But we have faith. The altar is going to let us grab a passive skill. Let's see which one the game gives us here. Hopefully one we missed out on before. We're just looking over the options, making 100% sure. Every 10th lift card is duplicated. Yes, so this is a little hard to keep track of. And when you first get the passive skill, most fights you will accidentally activate it. And this could be detrimental, in all honesty. If you end up duplicating Idea specifically, what happens is Idea is played, then it is duplicated and the backside is played, which is Stunning Idea. When Stunning Idea is played, it discards all maneuvers from your hand. So you're playing your cards, playing your combo, then you see that there's no other maneuver to play for 0, and it's time to play your Idea and cast Idea, and then all of a sudden you're expecting a reload on your ability to combo, and what ends up happening is you discard all of your ammunition. Well, all of your power generation, not ammunition. You discard all of your maneuvers. So as you can see in the top right, that 7, that's the number of cards we've flipped. So it's just counting up, letting us know. As soon as it's ready to activate, it will move from that top position to the bottom right, underneath of that chain, and it will glow, letting you know that it's ready to be used. When you go over 10, it looks like it still counts and sticks around and just duplicates the next card that you play. Now, did I want to duplicate feints there? No. I was fully unaware that that had triggered, and I duplicated feints. But it's way better than having duplicated the Idea card and having ruined our entire hand, being unable to do what we're doing now, which is reducing all of them to 0 once more and playing them all again. Keep a careful eye on our increased damage percentage. We got lucky enough there to have reduced Glimpse of Possibility to 0 with our flipping, so we can get it back to Overwhelming Insight, and in some very rare cases we can even Overwhelming Insight again. But here we have to drop our Stunning Idea, reduce their armor, and see how much damage we can get out. Now remember the guidance that I was giving from before. In these situations, try to kill the worm first. Try to fill up the battlefield full of worms, and if you do this, you will be able to save yourself a couple kills. I swiftly ignore my own advice, but I am learning the power of these quivers for sure. Realizing here now that I probably could have done this better, but I should win either way. I'm not in danger here. It's just a matter of efficiency. Yeah, being able to get them down to just 2 little grubs means that if I would have done things in a different order, I might have come out with a turn 1 kill there. And turn 2s with Apostate decks are always kind of wonky. You definitely don't get the bonus from the calc, so you're drawing less most of the time without certain talents. And your deck is in a weird order due to how you kind of drew and played everything. I find that turn 2s as an Apostate do not tend to draw a lot of arrows. Maybe this is just a symptom of me removing so many cards from my deck, but let me know in the comments if you had noticed something similar. Here I'm on a spree, just playing every single card that I can see, even though the enemies are probably dead with the slight damage bonus we have at the moment. No, not quite. But we know we have enough to kill them. Shot of Destiny actually not killing there. Trying to put the cards in the right order on the right side, because remember, the cards retain their facing from fight to fight. So cards do not automatically flip back to their first side when you finish a fight. If you end a fight with a card on its secondary side, the next fight, that's the position it starts in. We get Overdraw. Overdraw is absolutely busted. We also get our 10th level mastery. I've been calling these keystones, I realize, and I apologize, but they're actually called mastery talents, or mastery passives. And I choose the raise here. I think that one's the best for what we're doing. So I can draw additional maneuver cards when I use quivers, but why? My hand's already full. Draw 1 arrow for every flipped card. Again, why? My hand is already full. Or my ultimate ability reduces the energy of half the cards in my hand by 1. That's so powerful because it doesn't matter what it hits. Any cards that are reduced to 0 allow me to play them again. Those cards being played will reduce the cost of other cards to 0, allowing me to play them, so on and so forth. We also get really lucky and pick up a mythical rarity rune here. The Bjork. We can use it, or we can trade it at the blacksmith for something really good. That pretty much guaranteed that we're going to get a level 2 of our rune that we have right now, the Gur rune. Now that we have healed from just that one fight with the lifesteal, we can go back to the power of the polished calc. We're just setting everything up, making sure we're not missing any little bit of damage or efficiency. I really like the tier rune on the right hand side for armor. Having 75 armor in the first 2 turns of combat means that you're pretty much immune to damage in the first 2 turns of combat. So it really lets you go all out on focusing damage. I sneak in behind this guy and ninja the candles, and then just walk up into him to decide to fight him anyway. Now this is a perfect fight to target the worm. The worm there in the right is set to split many times, and I can save myself a lot of trouble if I can split it preemptively before I kind of clear the path here. It's very tempting to just kill the rat-like creature on the left-hand side. They have such high negative armor, they're very, very easy to kill. But you will see the absurdity the ridiculousness of overdraw. Overdraw carries us so hard here. The front side is going to give us a 100% damage boost, and the back side is going to give us a 200% damage boost for one turn only, but you really don't need it more than one turn. Keep in mind, we get a 100% damage boost every time a card is flipped to its front side. So overdraw gives us 400% damage total, both sides put together. Played as many cards as we could. You see that Stunning Idea is free. Shot of Destiny doing ridiculous amounts of damage already. But Stunning Idea remains free as I hit my ultimate, and these cards got reduced to 0, so I need to play them first before I use Overwhelming Insight, because if I don't, I will waste the 0. I actually was able to time my duplicate there and duplicate Overdraw. Now, duplicating Overdraw is absolutely unfair. And as you can see, every time Overdraw gets cost reduced here, as I'm flipping through these cards, I'm just getting more and more and more damage. 1,700 plus % damage in turn 1. We're not even close to being done yet. As you can see, I realize this and I start targeting the worm. We see how good Arrows of the Past is, and it brings back our Shot of Destiny. So Arrows of the Past is going to be a super good pickup here. It was the right call. I'm going to be able to use my strongest card more than one time per turn. It's going to go from 1 guaranteed kill a turn to 2 guaranteed kills a turn, plus all the rest of the damage the deck can dish out. Everything is expensive here, so we go ahead and use our idea. We accidentally hit Overdraw because we see that it's free. Oh no, we tactically hit Overdraw because we knew that the Overwhelming Insight was free as well. And just watch them continuously cost reduce each other, back and forth, cost reduce. Almost 3,000% damage increase here. Now we finally have ran out, and we can Stunning Idea to reduce their armor. And now, with this massive amount of damage, we can just go crazy with all of the remaining arrows and quivers. We saved ourselves one spawn there. And we saved ourselves one spawn there. Any attack at all. A weak shot just did 1,000 damage. Shot of Destiny is going to kill anybody, regardless if I play it now or later. Might as well play it now. And that's it. They're gone. And I play these because I don't want to draw them. We don't want them in my deck. Even though it wouldn't be bad having them in my deck. Making sure that I draw damage next turn. I shouldn't play that because it was in the right mode. It was how I wanted it. That was actually a mistake playing that there. I should have just ended the fight. We look at Future Shot. Our deck is very thin, and we can definitely afford to add one more card to it. It kind of seems like it has potential to set me up. Being able to reduce the cost of Idea by 1, making Idea free, and then using Idea to cast Overwhelming Insight. It seems like it might squeak me out one more full rotation of maneuvers, so we take it. Gar, a rune that I'm very fond of. Do not underestimate the power of 4 damage increase. Not something we can slot in right now. And we're just taking fights for experience at this point. We click a little bit too fast there, and we don't grab the weird candle. It's fine, we have plenty of weird candles. So taking the blessing, honestly, was probably the right thing to do. But I was still trying to be greedy. We sneak past this fight to use the blessing in a fight where, you know, it might matter a little bit. We'll take the treasure fight. Place your bets. Does that 1,190 worm with 50 armor sitting in there in the middle stand a chance? Place your bets. We drew our future shot. We're going to try that combo that we thought of. Go ahead and use idea so that we can play this for free. We've already played Overwhelming Insight and still have not used any energy. A very good start. But I still think the turn would have been better if I had started with the Overwhelming Insight flipped over to the Glimpse of Possibility side. But we just keep watching our hand and keep playing the cards that get cost reduced. Bouncing back and forth. Alright, everything has been played that isn't a damage card. So, it's time to ultimate. Still with 1 energy left. And as you can see, once you get the groove down of what you're trying to do, that's where everything becomes way easier. I know that in the very first video I kind of sounded a little contradictory as I opened with this class is incredibly simple and not complex, and by the end of the video I'm telling you that every turn you have to do incredible calculations to achieve maximum damage. Both are true. You don't have to be as efficient as I am trying to get this maximum damage combos off. You can play this class and play half as many maneuvers and still do just fine. I want to use every ounce of energy that I'm afforded. I want to use every card that I can play. It's just something inside of me that makes me want to push my deck as far as it can go. You know, I feel like it helps me play it better. After taking the time to consider what the best play is every turn, you build up a little bit of muscle memory. It gets a little bit easier, and all of a sudden you can autopilot these very complex decks with very little effort. So that's the goal. We're just trying to be efficient, pick ourselves up another rune here. We're just trying to manage and see what loadout we want. We like the idea of reduced energy. We also like the idea of the damage runes. I think we do get a rune slot in all 3 of the treasure hoard fights on this run though, so it doesn't happen all the time. It's pretty fortunate. Immediately throw out the armor reduction, pretty much sealing their fate, making sure they will all die in turn 1. I'm getting kind of lucky with this future shot and getting Overwhelming Insight in our hand. There we go. Tons of maneuvers to play for free. So this is what I would call our first rotation. And a rotation is pretty much just playing every single 0-cost maneuver in your hand until you have to use your ultimate, switch the cards back over to idea, and get a free idea Overwhelming Insight to get a second quote-unquote rotation where all your cards are free again and you play them again. We're really trying to duplicate Overdraw, so we see that we've played 8 maneuvers, or flipped 8 maneuvers, and we're trying to not use Overdraw now because we want it to be the next card that we play. But we just decided we can play it for 1 because we haven't used any energy yet. So let's play it now, play it again, and let it duplicate. Look at our percent damage skyrocket. We haven't even used our ultimate yet. We're already over 1,000% increased. No cards left in the deck, all cards in hand. We know we can Shot of Destiny and use the arrows from the grave to get it back. Arrows from the past, my apologies. And now, look, it's 1 energy, but it won't be after we have done our second rotation. This is our second rotation here. We play the cards that are 0 first before we use our idea Overwhelming Insight. And it looks like Overwhelming Insight is free already, so we don't need to use idea to make it free. This is where it starts to get really silly. This allows us to do more than 2 rotations, because before we would play all our cards, idea Overwhelming Insight, play all our cards, ultimate, and then play all our cards. Now Overwhelming Insight can become free as a result of all of the flipping. Seeing here, watch it be cost reduced twice in a row. I look back at it, I'm like, okay, we played this again. Get it to this side so that that has a chance to be cost reduced. Still haven't played that second idea. Idea has only been played 1 time to reduce the cost of Overwhelming Insight. And I look around, okay, now I can use this idea to get another rotation. Everything's free here. We still have 2 energy left. If these flips are really nice to me and reduce the cost of that glimpse, I might even be able to pull off another rotation. Doesn't look like it's happening though. The cards that are getting cost reduced are the other maneuvers, but that's fine. We continue to chain. We break the 3000% bonus damage increase. Overdraw is nuts. Compare the card Overdraw to the card Hold a Bow that is in the starter deck. I won't even elaborate. On your own time when you get a chance, compare them. They are starkly different. I think we just decide it's over. We could have kept going, but that's the biggest issue here is this deck you really do need to stop yourself. Look, each of those did 500 damage. I was so far and above the amount of damage that I needed to end that fight. So yeah, keep that in mind. As tempting as it can be to just flip. Once you get online like this, oh, and Insane Momentum is the exact passive that we needed to shoot our damage through the roof even further. If you thought we were overkilling stuff before, now we get 10% increased damage for every flipped card. I mean, as you can see in the fights, we're flipping, I would say, we're getting like 20 flips in turn 1, something like that. So that's an extra 200% increased damage. I still think that there's a pathway in this ruined home that I haven't tried yet, but I just keep finding junk in here. I think that's the farthest I've gotten inside of it, is like 3 resets. Look at the Pied Piper. We don't need to talk to the Pied Piper. We roll right up into the boss, knowing for sure that this boss dies on turn 1 no matter what, especially because we drew Glimpse of Possibility in our opening hand. The boss is already dead. He's already dead. Watch us play the cards that are 0. This is where it devolves into simplicity. This is like where the deck becomes much less complex than it initially appears. Just play all the maneuvers that are 0 till you can't. Use your idea. Use your Overwhelming Insight. Make everything free. Here we're going to future shot first so that our idea is free. This will allow us to preserve 1 energy and hold on to it just in case. That energy can allow us to do a whole second rotation if we get pretty lucky on our cost reductions. There we go. Everything is free. No cards left in our draw pile, so we just play the cards. We have 7 flips so far, so we're calculating them. We're making sure our 10th flip is Furious Overdraw / Overdraw. Next one gets duplicated. Bam. Bam. So much damage. Playing these free maneuvers is reducing the cost of other maneuvers. we run into our dead end. We were able to play or flip 14 cards before hitting our button and giving us a second shot. Maybe contemplating playing the Furious Overdraw here with our last energy. Checking out the Shot of Destiny damage. And we know our Shot of Destiny Arrows of the Past combo. But we would kind of like Shot of Destiny to be free before we do that. Interesting. I didn't know that this is the route I took. It might be the right way. It might not. Who's to say? I guess I just wanted to do Overdraw one more time for some reason. I know I have the kill on turn 1. Oh, I know what I was doing. I was trying to get one more ultimate charge to get my ultimate full, and I played a quiver that took ultimate charges. So it ended up backtracking me and making me even further away from getting my ultimate charge to full. Now, the difference between your ultimate charge being at 14 out of 15 and being full 15 out of 15 is pretty big. It's like a 200% damage difference sometimes. So yeah, you really do want it to be, see how it's 240+%, something to that effect. Now when I play this last card, 600+%. So you get an additional, a little bit more than double for just that last little point. So I was really trying to get it maxed out before I flipped, but as you can see here, it won't be necessary. Already up to above 3,000% damage bonus, thanks to the passive that we just got, gaining even more damage when we're flipping our cards. We get another pass at it with the idea Overwhelming Insight. Click cards that are 0. Yeah, boss stands no chance. Maneuvers keep cost reducing other maneuvers. And with that 1 energy left, you look here and the glimpse is reduced to 1. There's a very small chance. Nah, let's just Stunning Idea. Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. I drew Furious Overdraw. Deck's like, kill him. But yes, this is the second part in the second area. Part 3 is going to be the third area, just like the True Necromancer video. Third area goes a lot faster, I think. But I hope you guys are enjoying. Definitely leave comments down below. Things that I might be missing. Your own experiences with the Apostate. Or maybe the next character you would like me to cover in the True series. As always, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Peace.